It's a new year. It is a new legislative session coming up, and we are very excited in Humble ISD to have a real advocate for education who will be joining the legislature this year.
Our new state representative, Dan Huberty.
That's
We're excited about that big time.
Well, and not only is Dan a great education advocate, but he's developed some real ties in the legislature. I think he can affect some change, so we're hopeful.
And we're going to help him.
And we're joined by two of our school board members who are very hopeful that something will change for the district in the way of some funding reform for education. We're joined by Robert Scarfa, who is the chair of the legislative committee for the board.
Thank you.
And Charles Cunningham, who has been so involved with legislative issues over the last couple of years that I feel like you could write the book on it. So
it's good to see you, Lynn.
Glad to have both of you with us. And Robert, we'll start with you. New year, new legislator in our area. What do you have as plans for lobbying for the school district?
Well, I think one of the foremost issues we face as a district, along with about 10 or so other districts, is trying to save our tiers money that the TEA in their infinite wisdom has decided they wanted to go back and recalculate for prior years and are trying to actually take back almost $18 million of revenue that we had and thought we had, and we did everything we needed to do, but they just have dug in and said no, that we have to give this back. And our only hope now, they told us, is if the legislature should decide to pass a bill that would grandfather that portion. So that's really our top priority going into this session that is just starting. And I'm very happy that our colleague, Mr. Huberty, is there to help carry the ball for us. And we've been doing a lot of other things with the help of others, and yourself, Lynn, very big in this too, with our contacts with even the Lieutenant Governor. We met with him at a luncheon earlier in the fall, Dan and I, and we did talk, and he's been willing to meet with us, and we have that scheduled for this month, and we're planning to do that because we are going to need the legislative help to do that. And if people aren't familiar with tiers, it's a way that a governmental agency can, like a city, the city of Houston, can rebate back some money that their taxpayers, or in this case it's all of Kingwood, pay into that entity. They're basically giving back some of the money so it actually stays in the district. And for us, and Guy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's worth about 6 cents per hundred for us. That's in correct. Terms of the revenue. And now it's only revenue that could be used on capital improvements, plant and equipment, so buildings, replacing equipment, but it's very big for us, and for them now to put that at risk, meaning the TEA, is bad news. So I think that's number one priority, and I think the other, and Charles, tell me what you think, but just trying to keep what we have, I think, is going to be a big issue because they're facing some pretty tough issues this session, especially with looking at, I think the most recent number we heard was $20 billion deficit that they're going to have to face. So where's that coming from? We need to do everything we can to stake our claim and at least keep what we have. I think so. That's where I'd see us at this point.
Yeah, you know, from my perspective, I think that captures it really, really well. The tiered issue is huge, huge to us. And Charles, as Robert mentioned, in all fairness, I mean the state is in dire financial condition.
Yes.
$20 billion deficit, maybe more, as we get into the session. And so really the state, at least all that I've heard, and I'd be interested in your perspective and what you've been picking up, it's cut mode thinking. It's taking away kind of conversation that's occurring. So Charles, one, what are you hearing? And two, from your perspective, so how do we try to protect what we have?
Well, Guy, you're absolutely right because as Mr. Scarfo said, we're looking at a $20 billion deficit over 2 years. That's $10 million a year. And of course, the cuts are going to happen. And I think for us, as Humble ISD, our family, and we have a great community here, we need to issue that call to arms to make sure that our voices are being heard, that you don't cut public education. We've heard that they want to cut higher education, public education. I mean, we've basically been cut since 2005. That's We've been frozen at these levels. We've had mandates that are, I guess I can say it, forced upon us. We have no choice.
Definition of
we have to just go ahead and just be that voice. So it's good that we have a legislator now that understands education, that can help some of the other legislators understand about education. And I'm looking forward to working with Mr. Huberty, going up there to Austin. We've got some trips planned, I know, coming up next month in February. Also, I'll be going to D.C. and working on that end as far from a federal standpoint, too, as my role in TASB. So we're going to be out there fighting for this district. And once again, I can't say enough about what we as a community, when we issue that call, they come to the call.
They sure have.
Right.
They sure have.
Well, not only community business as well comes to the call, and I know the local chambers send groups to Austin to lobby legislators, because a sound economy is based on an educated workforce, and I know that they are pushing that and how it affects businesses. But our taxpayers are the ones that are getting hit so hard. Every time the state fails to address the issue properly, it's our taxpayers who pick up the slack. What do you say to the average mom and pop out there on how they can be involved in the in this issue? Because a lot of people say, well, I can't do anything. I don't know anybody. I don't know anything about, you know, education budgets. How can I be involved as a citizen or a taxpayer? So can you address the letter writing, the contacting legislators? How can just your average person be involved?
Well, you're right, Lynn, and I think that's where people kind of disconnect. They don't realize how impactful they can be as individuals, making phone calls to the governor's office, the lieutenant governor's office. Sending emails is certainly a good thing, but making those phone calls to legislators, and not necessarily just in our area. They can call other legislators and tell them, like, this is a state issue, and we really need to have equity among the districts. And they really have to work on that system that's currently in place that, in my opinion, is a failed system. So it needs to be fixed. And I hope we don't have to get to the point where another lawsuit is the only way they'll listen. But we'll do whatever we have to do, because we are going to have to fight hard. But every individual has a stake in this. Whether you have a child in school or not, you have a stake in this, because this is our community, it's our state, our county, however you want to break it down. And as you said, Lynn, education is really the foundation. And whether it be students wanting to go on to a 4-year college plan, a 2-year, but it's just so evident that some form of additional education is needed beyond high school. And we have to get our students ready to pursue these other paths. And I'm really happy to say Dr. Sconzo and his staff are really taking that, and that's been one of the goals of the board, and he has taken it and run with it as far as putting programs in place for our students to do that, to get ready for various options. It's not just one track. There's many tracks available, and we are working, we're putting plans in place. They're just doing a great job on that. I'm really happy, because that's one thing near and dear to my heart. But I know we've talked about a lot of negative things here, or things that sound kind of pessimistic, but on the positive side, we've been doing things as a board, as the staff, to try to improve our revenues, cut expenses. One thing we did recently was, under Mr. Cunningham's guidance as chair of the Planning and Building Committee, we've just recently negotiated back in the fall, negotiated a new contract for electricity. That's going to save us, starting in this May, starting there, about $2.4 million a year. Right. So that's huge for us. And even with the new Turner Stadium, the revenue, additional revenue it's created by advertising there, that's been a big help. And again, hats off to Troy and Krista, our co-athletic directors. They've been getting events. We have one coming up in 2012, the Junior Olympics. That's going to generate a lot of revenue for the community at large, not just the district. But doing things like that. And we recently, I say recently, back in November, December, we refinanced bonds to take advantage of the historically low rates. So we're going to pick up some savings there over these years. So we are trying, as a board, as the administration across the district, to do whatever we can to cut expenses that are not in the classroom, but help to save us money and also generate revenue. We're doing all those things. But to your point, I think really everyone needs to take
And
a role
that's
in
what
this.
it comes back down to. It comes back down to the grassroots.
Yeah.
And that comes back down to community. And it comes back to just the board is saying, we need you.
And there's
We need you
power
now.
out there
And
in every person.
Well, we saw it.
Yeah.
We've elected somebody now who knows education.
That's right.
And it works.
That's right. Well,
We
they are
can do it.
furiously wrapping us up,
I know,
unfortunately.
he is
I know.
waving away.
His arm is going to fall
But
off.
so important information, and do get involved.
Please.
Just as simple as keep an eye on the district website. Right on the front page from here on out, you will see a link about legislation, and it will take you to all of the information that we believe you need, and we again encourage you to get involved. Charles, Robert, you guys do an amazing job, and thank you for your passion. Thank you for your resolve to make a difference for all of our kids.
Thank you.
And you're doing
Good
great.
to see you again, Mike.
Good to see you.
Isn't she wonderful?
She absolutely is.
Best co-host
It's
in the
nice
world.
to be up here with all these nice guys.
Very happy New Year and blessed New
Thank
Year
you.
for everyone.
Thank you.
all
You
of us.
too. You too. And you stay with us. We're coming right back.